Hello, the internet. It's time to do some painting. Uh, all I know at this juncture is that we're going to be painting the new BMW M4 GT4 that was released today. I just goofed off playing it. Let me do a quick microphone check here, make sure. Yeah, that sounds okay. So, yeah, so we're going to paint the BMW today. And like with any of my painting tutorials, I want to make sure that anyone who watches this down the road gets a chance to grasp the full process, not just the design. Um, Obviously, the design part is where a lot of the creativity comes into play and where you get to have a lot of fun. But I think where people get hung up, and where I certainly got hung up when I first started painting cars and iRacing, was in the logistics, was in setting up and understanding what the pieces were. So I'm going to start with that as always. Now, this whole tutorial will be taking place using Gimp, but I'm sure that there are other tools that you might be using. The same basic concepts of layers and file types and all that will still apply. So let's get started with some basic logistics. First couple things I need to do are to go get the car's template that I'm going to be painting on and get that exported and set up in the right place. And then take that template and get it into Gimp and get my file structure set up. So let's start with that. The first thing I'm going to do, though, before I even go get the car, is I'm going to go up here to my profile. And I'm going to go to profile. And you can see here that my customer ID, my iRacing number is 147818. Go do that, look at yours before you get started painting. Know where to get this, right? You're going to need that in a minute. So let's go find the car. And we're going to do this one here, paint car, right? So here's all the default iRacing stuff. Now, one of the things you're going to want to try to figure out right off the top is if you have an idea of the color scheme you're going to be doing in mind, whether it's a dark scheme, a light scheme, or whatever, is to go ahead and get your number and your wheels set up at this point, right? You can't override the number in the wheels within the GIMP environment, right? You have to do that here unless you're going to go without a number at all, right? If you're not going to use the default generated number. So I'm going to be a little predictable here, and I'm going to use the black number. Let's see here, kind of like that. I think that's cool. And I think yeah, I think that'll work. Now, once I've done that, I'm going to make a decision on wheels real quickly here. Right now, I've got black chrome. I kind of like that idea. We'll stick with that for the moment. And I'm going to download the template. Now, the wheels aren't part of the template. It's just sort of a top-down order of operations to get that going. Hey, Mike, what's going on? Moi, back at you. Did you finish your video? Okay, actually, I skipped a step there. Got distracted by ye old chat. Okay, I don't want to do what I just did, right? We've downloaded this file. It's in a zip file. What I want to do is extract this to sort of your working area. So I have several drives on my computer here. One of them is called Studio. Within Studio, I have Paint, and then notice I've got a file here for every car that I've done paints for. And so I'm going to create a new folder for the BMW M4 GT4, and that's going to nest in nicely with all the other Beamers. And I'm going to drop this PSD file into here. Now, it's worth noting that GIMP does not use PSD files. It uses what's called an XCF file. That's just their file format. But I can still use GIMP to do my paint. So all I got to do is drag that extracted folder, a file, XCF, PSD file into GIMP and convert it. And when that converts, it will create an XCF starting file. And it starts it off with all of your, patterns, your preset patterns and all that stuff. Now, one thing I like to do right off the bat is go ahead and delete the whole patterns folder because it's lame to use them. And I like to go ahead and make sure that the wire is there and it's working and that it's of a color that I'm going to be able to work with. Now, I'm going to show you how to change the color of the wire in just a moment here, because I think the base of my car is probably going to be white. I haven't made my mind up yet. There's only one thing I kind of know for certain about this design that's about to happen. But at any rate, I think that we're going to change the color of the wire because I'm going to have a white background. That would mean that I can't see a white wire on top of a white background. So I'm going to change that in a minute. But before I get to any of that stuff, what we want to do right now is set up our files. We're in Gimp now. We've got a working file. Now, let's go ahead and fire up the sim. Okay. So to do that, I'm just going to go back into racing. I'm going to test drive, and I'm going to choose the BMW here, M4. And I'm going to put this at the centripetal circuit at noon. Continue. Test drive. So again, we're just sort of getting set up at this point. There's the new iRacing loading screen. That's cool. Cool. Information about the track. No, I'm not going to load up into Oculus. It's coming up. It's coming up. Okay. Now, I'm going to take it out of full screen mode with Alt-Enter. And normally I would be using my multiple monitors here. I would have the sim on one monitor with Gimp on another, but for your purposes, or for the purposes of helping you guys out, I will be doing everything on one monitor. So now, first thing you should do is go ahead and hit test. Let your driver sit in the car for a minute, and then exit out, and let's notice something. I just paused it. If I go live and spin around and look, notice how my driver is not in the car. Okay, I'm now going to hit back, and now the driver is in the car in just a second here. All right, now the driver's in the car. You want to pause your replay with the driver in the car the entire time that you're painting. The paint file itself you're about to see is linked up to the driver, not to the car. So I'm going to go back live again. Okay, and I'm just going to hit pause. So now that it's live, let's get our folder set up, and I'm going to show you what I mean about the driver. So I'm going to export this working file, this blue with white wireframe file. I'm going to export that out into my hard drive in my iRacing folder, which is going to be in your Documents, iRacing, Paint, the car you're painting, in my case the BMW, and here's where that number came into play. I'm going to call this car underscore my number. Remember the number that we talked about at the very beginning. If I go back here to my profile, 147818 in my case. So in your case, it'll be car underscore whatever it is .tga. Okay, that is the paint, that location in the paint/car folder, and then that format is what iRacing is looking for to put a paint on on screen for other people to see. So when you upload to Trading Paints, all the Trading Paints app is doing is reaching out and saying, okay, drop that down on my documents folder, as well as anyone else who's on track with my documents folder, right? On track with me into their documents folder. Cool. So now that I've done that, I've got that exported. Let's go back into the sim and hit refresh. That's Control R. Now notice how it's just white, right? And it's not going to change. If I just sat here and waited a day, it certainly would not change. So what I'm going to do is back it up again to where there's a driver in the car. Because remember, the paint is attached to the driver, not to the car. And now he's in, and the paint refreshed. Now we have a working paint job, right? We've got a blue car with a white wireframe, and I could be done right now, right? But now I'm just going to leave my painting tools open, and now I can spin the car around with my WASD, Alt-W, Alt-S, you know, all that stuff, right? Control does some stuff here too. So experiment with your controls, or even better, get an Xbox controller and hook that up. So now I'm going to kind of just look around the car, get an idea of its shapes, and what kind of stuff I might want to do. I think the main feature that I want to do, I believe, is an offset asymmetrical set of racing stripes right here. And I think I want to do a car sponsored by SpaceX. There's a lot of, between the pandemic and between all of the racial protests going on right now, there's a lot of nasty in the world. But this week, SpaceX launched a commercially built and operated spacecraft with people on it and docked it with the space station. And I found that to be a very special and inspirational moment. And I want to celebrate that with this car. So I'm going to do an asymmetrical SpaceX paint, is at least what I think I'm going to do. We'll find out how it goes. So we're going to go looking for some SpaceX assets in a minute. But before we even do that, we're just going to figure out this asymmetrical racing stripe situation and try to decide our basic color scheme from one side of the car to the next, right? Now, for that, let's go ahead and go look at SpaceX's branding. Now, I took the liberty, SpaceX. I took the liberty of looking at their website, but unfortunately, it's pretty monochromatic right now, right? It's pretty much black and white, which, I mean, hey, they're a space company, so that sort of makes sense. But they've gone with this super minimalistic sort of approach. But their logo is blue and gray, and so I think blue and gray are going to be our primary colors. So SpaceX logo transparent. I'm going to search for that. And I know that there's a vertical version of that logo. And yeah, there it is. But I wanted to find one with a transparent background. I think that one might work. That one too. So let's save this. And just like with the cars, right, it's worth it to have an assets folder as well, where you've got all your stuff that you use on a regular basis. So I'm going to create a new, oh, I've got a SpaceX folder. I don't remember ever making a SpaceX paint. Maybe I started one and never finished it. But regardless, I've got a few SpaceX logos all ready to start with. I've got a Falcon one. I don't have a Dragon one, so we'll see about adding a Dragon logo as well. So now let's go ahead and we'll drop that SpaceX logo onto the car so that we can save a couple of key colors that we're going to use. And I think we're going to do the driver's side of the car is going to be white, I think. Yeah, I think the driver's side of the car is going to be white with the vertical SpaceX logo coming down a little bit off center here, and then a couple of off center racing stripes, and then maybe a different color on the other side of the car. We'll experiment. Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my base layer, and I'm going to paint this car. Actually, before we do that, let's go change the color of our wire so we don't have white on white. The way you do this, go to your wire layer, right? Zoom in real close. Get your select by color tool and select the white. Okay, now you can see that everything that's white on this layer, meaning the wire, has been selected. Now what I'm going to do is grab my paintbrush, put it on a really big size, and then change my paint color to something that I'm not going to use in this paint, something that's going to stand out. So I'm just going to use red. That'll stand out nicely over the whites and grays that I'm going to be using. So now I've got a red. I'm going to remove the selection. Now I've got a red wire. Cool. Now I'm going to go down to my paintable area, and I am going to grab white, do the paint bucket. For my whole base layer, I've now got a white car. I'm going to hit Control E here. I've now got a white car with a red wireframe. Cool, cool. Now, let's grab that SpaceX logo, just so again we have the color references, and drop that onto the car. But we don't want to just leave it anywhere, right? I'm going to call this SpaceX Hero, okay? But what I want to do now is start a folder structure of graphics and logos, okay? So I created two folders here, one of graphics and one for logos. This is a logo. So I'm going to put it into the logos folder. Now, what we're going to do is just sort of leave this one huge and in the middle and not placed because I want to get the color references, and then I'm going to hide this layer. We're going to reuse this in a minute, but I just want to have it there as sort of a hero reference that I can come back to later. So one of the first things I want to do is, before I get to graphics and doing swooshes and all that stuff, before I get to all that stuff, I want to go ahead and position one of these onto the bonnet where I want it to be. So I'm going to do a new layer group, and I'm going to call it the hood. I'm going to duplicate that hero, drop it into the hood folder, and then hide the regular hero. So I've still got a SpaceX logo here to play with. I'm now going to rotate it, and then I'm going to bring it down in size to where I think it'll look okay on the hood in this area leading up to that inlet. And so I'm just going to put it right off the center line. Let's see how that looks on the car. So I'm going to take the wire off. Okay, so now my idea here is I'm going to do some graphics that are going to balance this off. I'm thinking a large stripe and a small stripe. I'm not sure in which order yet, but matching the colors within the logo. So one gray and one blue. I do think I'm also going to chop this up a little bit. I'm going to modify the logo to bring the space closer to the X, because when it's done vertically like this, it feels like that spacing is too much. So what I'm going to do now is come down like so, and I'm going to, I think I'll use the crop. Yeah, no, I'll use the eraser for this one. So I'm erasing the X from one of them, and I'm erasing the space from the other one, right? So now I just have space X with two pieces that I can move around. And then I can merge those two layers together if I want. Yeah, I think that looks better. So let's merge those. I'm going to merge down. Now those two layers are now one, right? No harm, no foul on the overwriting. And I've got that taken care of. Now let's start experimenting with a large stripe and a small stripe. And I think the smaller one's going to be the gray, and I'm going to sort of have it overlap with the X here. So I'm going to start to figure that out in just a sec. Let's go ahead and take it all the way to the front of the car. Let's go look at the car. Take it to the front or just take it down to the inlet? Let's do that. Let's turn our wire back on here. So we'll take that down to the inlet. And I think I'm going to go ahead and drag this. I'm going to take this wire all the way through the car. At least, we'll think about it for a second here. Now I've got an outline for that. What I want to do real quickly is get my color. So let's go to our SpaceX here. I want to get this gray. So I'm again going to use my color picker, choose gray. Oh, I need to select none. Sorry, not the color picker, the drop tool. So now I've got my gray here. And you know what I'm going to go ahead and do is save both of them while I'm here. Save the gray, and then I'm also going to grab the blue and save the blue. So now I've got those two available to me anytime. Now they're back in, they're sort of opposite one another on my basic swatch. Okay, so let's go paint that stripe. Don't think I'm going to take it all the way down to the bottom here, but that's what we're going to start with and probably redact from. Okay, so in the graphics, again, I'm going to do a group called top under graphics, and then within that, I'm going to do gray stripe. and then I'm going to just paint my gray all the way. Okay, now obviously I don't want that part, right? So now that I've painted my gray, I'm going to remove part of it right off the bat. And then I'm going to turn off my wire and just see how it looks on the car. My bet is that I'm going to want to remove parts of this gray. Okay, so I think what it really needs is a black outline. Or maybe that one needs to be the blue. Let's try it again with the blue. Okay, I think I like the blue butting up against the SpaceX more, SpaceX logo more. I'll have to do some work to make the X blend well here, so I'll get back to that in a little bit. But I think I like the blue there first, and then we'll start messing with the gray stripe, which I guess will be the larger stripe. So same old, same old. What I'm going to do now is rename this layer because that's now blue stripe. And do another layer for gray stripe. And in the exact same manner, drag it all the way across the car, put it on gray, and paint it. Okay. So kind of coming off as a nice simple paint right now. I think we're going to get a little fancier when we do one side of the car asymmetrically a different color than the other side. And I find myself wondering if I should indeed take the stripes all the way to the front to the grill, but I'm going to go with my gut for now and say no. Looking at the rear, I definitely don't want the stripes going down the rear of the car, so we'll go ahead and address that now. Turn on our wire. And let's see here. I guess it's everything from there down. So what I'll do is box all that off, put on my eraser, I think that's going to be better. Starting to second guess my two-tone approach, because what I was kind of thinking about was doing white on one side and then black on the other. But I'm starting to really second guess that. And I also think that having SpaceX as that off-center line, I think is wrong. I think I want to have this whole assembly of three pieces roughly centered. So let's do that. So what I'm going to do is select this row, this layer, and this layer, and move them together to where they are all sort of centered on the center line of the car, right? So if we consider this S line that's going up and intersecting with this triangle, so is that now. So that should be roughly right. So let's go look at that real fast. Still feel like this gray needs to have something happen to it. Let's box the gray in black. The way we're going to do that is we're just going to come down and go like 1 pixel over the gray, like that. just like so. We're going to create a new layer directly under the gray stripe, right? So call that black stripe backer for gray. And then I'm going to grab my gray here and I'm just going to paint like so, drop it under the gray, and now I should have a nice pinstripe underneath the gray, right? That I can then go and erase the overspray, as it were. And I think I'm going to go ahead and do that for the blue as well. So just one pixel over, be consistent is the key there. I noticed there was a little inconsistency there in the blue, so I'll fix that now that I've noticed it. See, there and somewhere else I thought there. It might fix itself with the black here. Let's take a look. I don't think so. So we'll do a little surgery on our blue here. Okay, so for the blue, to fix these gray blotches here, it's going to bring this down a notch, bring that down a notch. We're going to go back and grab our blue and paintbrush, just give it another good spray. Let's go take a look, see if that's sharpened it up a little bit. I think so, I think so. We still got to clean up where the X meets. But yeah. All right, I think we're off to a reasonable start here. We're off to a reasonable start. Hey, what's up, Bryce? Hey, Robin, how's it going? Sorry, guys, I hadn't been watching the chat. I've been making stripes. Okay, so we've got two sort of offset stripes. Why don't we go ahead now and create the white backer that we need for where the X overlaps the stripe, because what we don't want is that bleed, right? So what I'm going to do is select the shapes that we have there and create a sort of backer layer for the SpaceX logo that has a white surrounding here, right? So what we're going to do is zoom on in. I'm going to create a new layer up here in my logos group, and I'm going to call it the X backer. So I'm now going to select by color and select that shape, okay? And in my X backer, which is below the logo, I'm just going to grab some white and paint that mamma jamma. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing for this blue. Now, why didn't that work? Oh, because I'm in the wrong layer. There we go. So now notice how all that selected all the blue in the layer and a little bit of padding around it. It's not the best logo file I don't think that I got, but it's going to be good enough for us. Okay, so we've got that. Let's, what was I doing? Oh yeah, I'm absent-minded today. Okay, so we can see now that we've got this nice white surround that's going to intersect with the stripe, right? Okay, so we've got SpaceX there. Let's go ahead and, I might regret this. I'm going to save the work so far, save as, and then back in my, remember how we talked about different folders here, back in my paint folder for the BMW M4, I'm going to call this the SpaceX M4. Save my work because I might regret what I'm about to do. I'm going to merge down and put these two in one layer, right? Select none. And the reason I say that I might regret that is because I'm going to experiment real quickly with increasing the size, which is often not a great move. Increasing the size of the layer to make the SpaceX logo slightly larger. Yeah, that's not going to work, is it? That's going to overlap with that vent. I do like the size of the text more, though. But it's going to Control Z a bunch of times, change all that back. Maybe we'll move SpaceX up just a tad. Tell you what we'll do. We'll crop the layer so that I'm not changing 2,000 pixels. I'm going to go to this layer and I'm going to crop to the selection. And I'm going to resize this up just a tad. Does it look okay? Did it blurify it? Let's take a look. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad. Okay. Okay, so now we've got a white car with a SpaceX logo, an IMSA logo, a car number that's kind of boring in its current form. But I think we're going to do some swooshies over here on the side. That's going to help with that, and then we'll figure out where our SpaceX logo on the side is going to fit into all that. Let's go ahead and start painting the side of this beautiful car. I need to fix that real fast. Looks like I've got some overspray on the blue stripe. Yeah, Bryce, when I saw that they were coming out with this little guy, it made me want it right away. Have you driven it yet? Have I shown you mine since I got the wheels on? I'll show you. I don't know if I've shown you this or not yet, but here's my new wheels. Looking pretty good, coming together. Went and got a car wash the other day, and at the detail place there was the i8, there was a 5 Series, that was an X7, there was another 3 Series in the wash bay behind. It was like BMW meetup or something. That was nuts. Yeah, I bought one of the 87 NASCAR cars. That's an interesting time. Those are hard to drive. Like, you don't go flat out at Daytona. It's pretty different. Nothing like the modern stuff. Okay, let's put a black. I think what I'm going to do is along the splitter here, I'm going to do some black, and then right about here, I'm going to come up and do some sort of crisscrossy designs using the SpaceX colors, maybe, and then sort of a white, maybe white, line where the SpaceX logo is going to live. So let's start experimenting with that stuff. We'll put our wire back on, and we'll start with the skirt. Start a new group for left, and we're going to call it skirt, the first layer in there, and we'll go ahead and start tracing out its shape. Shift V to close the loop, and what we're going to do is just go grab black and paint that. I also goofed off at Watkins Glen with it, and again, crazy. The BMW is interesting in that it, I don't know, it's kind of a slower car, and it's got a strange combination of characteristics. It on cold tires, man, it'll do those lazy Audi spins like in the R8, and so it's a bit sketchy on cold tires, but just a lot of fun. It allows for, because it's slow enough, it allows for wheel-to-wheel racing, but it's powerful enough where you've got to really actively drive it or it'll oversteer, especially under throttle. So I enjoyed a couple hours of practice in it earlier. Okay, left, rear, up, black. What we're going to do here is start creating some fun shaperoos. Yeah, they seemed pretty competitive. Most people were in the BMW, of course, because it's the new thing. But they seemed relatively competitive with one another. I'm going to move the layer over a bit here. I think I want to make this black swoosh match up visually with the top of the window there, maybe. So I'm going to move that back a tad by erasing, oops, invert, erasing that. Yeah, I think that's pretty close. Okay, and now what we'll do as well is move the selection back a tad more, just a few clicks, and let's experiment with blue there. Should have just called that quarter panel, but whatever. Invert again. Turn off the selection. Do that. Clean up my overspray. Take a look. Okay. So I think what I'll do now is we're going to use color mapping because I don't still have the selection for this, and I know I could just draw another straight line. I want to show you how to recreate a layer without getting the jaggedy edges that we often get. So to do that, what my end goal here is to do a duplicate of this skirt layer in the blue and then another one in gray, because I've got an idea about some gray and blue overlapping each other back here. So what I want to do now is sort of take this skirt, duplicate it, and then duplicate it again. Okay, one of these I'm going to make gray, one of these I'm going to make blue. So the first one here, what I'm going to do is, with it selected, I'm going to go up to Colors, Map, Color Exchange, and I'm going to exchange black, notice how I'm from color black to color blue. And now what I should have is, if I turn off the layer that's above it, there we go, is a nice blue one, right? So what I'm going to do now is take that blue one and bring it down just a tad. To match up with the same thickness of this black line. And then I'll clean that up in a sec too. But I'm going to do the same thing, and I'm going to do a gray one. But the gray is going to have I'm going to probably cant the gray one a little bit to where it's a different angle of attack coming up into the quarter panel. All right, so this one, we're going to go colors, map, color exchange. Where's my pop-up? It's weird. Let's try it again. Colors, map, color exchange. There it is. And we'll take from black to our gray. Okay, so now we're going to take this one, move it down. And you can see now that I've got a black, blue, and gray one all on top of one another, right? And I can reorder them to make them do different things or whatever, but what I want to do now is crop the gray one so that I'm not adjusting an entire size layer. And then, here we go. I'm going to crop this one and then cant it, right? So we'll take this layer and crop to selection, and then we're going to rotate it, excuse me, like so. Maybe that was too much. That's probably about right. And then let's position it. I've got to clean this up here, but it's fine. Actually, that almost is accidentally kind of cool. That little, it's funny how sometimes you make like a, I don't know what you might call that. It's not an error. It's just a temporary thing that I had in there still. And I kind of like the way it blades out. It's giving me the idea of keeping it and adjusting the blue up. Let's experiment with that. Let's take that quarter panel, this layer here, and let's carve out part of it. Let's just see how it looks. Huh. I think I like where this is heading, except I want it to correspond with this line. So let's bring down, let's see if I can bring down these two layers to match up there. It's going to mess up the top. No, actually, it's okay. It's going to mess up the top. That's okay for now. Okay. And then what we'll do is I think we'll make a little spiky spike of the black to sort of come out and swoop up into that. And then I think we'll need another black to divide the gray and the blue here. So this is getting interesting. All right, so let me show you how to make a spike. I'm going to take it out to about here probably, and we're going to terminate it about there. I'm going to come down, and then we're going to finish this off, right? We want this to be a straight line matching to here. So actually, probably to do that best then, I should take this out there, and then I'll complete that out. So I'm just going to grab this line and curve it, right? But what I want this to be is a really aggressive one. So I'm gonna get this lined up and then pull this down. And we'll zoom in nice and close to where I can see how when I drag this line around, it changes its angle. I'm going to pull it really aggressively that way and then tweak this back to where I'm making a nice aggressive curve. Okay. And then I'm going to go out here. And this should be pretty well lined up with the bottom of that black stripe. And because I've got this selected, if I hit Control V, it should finish up my curve, I think. This might be a little jacked up. Let's take a look at it. It's pretty detailed work. Yeah, it's jacked up. Select none. Let's try that again. This might be too few pixels. Gimp is not vector-based like Photoshop is. And so when you get to really fine details like this, it's just not great. See if it'll let me do that one. It's not a gradual enough curve. That's not what I want. Although, if I go ahead and remove that bit, maybe I can just sort of bring this up just a tad. What I'll do is a little circular one. Do a little circle inversion here. Just to make this edge a little more rounded. Oh no, I hate it when that happens. It's so hard to get things docked back the way you like them once you screw them up like that in Gimp. Because if I close this, then it disappears. So I'll just have to live with it like that for now, probably. But I think that might get us there. Let's go take a look. If nothing else, it's a fun little work in progress. But let's go ahead and do another black layer, maybe, or no, maybe that needs a white layer, matching with that rotated gray. Let's try it. All right, so let's go find our gray. I think it's this one. 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 Here it is. What we're going to do is duplicate it. And we're going to call this one skirt white. And let's do another color mapping. Map color exchange. I'm going to take the gray and replace it with white. Okie dokie. What's going on, chat? Any interesting stuff? Have you guys tried out the new cars yet? What do you think? I'll tell you one thing. The guys were telling me that my favorite series, the Camel GT series, was getting the new tire model in both the Audi 90 GTO and the Nissan GTP, and I was like, okay, whoop-de-doo. But I gotta say, it changed the personality of the Audi completely, and I am a fan. I am looking forward to this season because that car is racier than it's ever been, sounds better than it ever has. I'm stoked. It's going to be great. Mike, I'll check it out, man. You were pretty jazzed about that video coming together, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. Okay, so got some blue and then gray, then white. Interesting little black accent there with that accidental swoosh that turned into a main feature. Now, how about we figure out what we're going to do back here? My initial thought was to do maybe some geometric patterning back here. You know, octagons and hexagons are kind of sci-fi-ish, and I was thinking, okay, it's SpaceX. Maybe I should do something like that back here. But at the same time, maybe I just do like a satin spec map back here and leave it the blue and then drop the logo on top of it coming up the door. Let's do a little logo experimentation kind of coming up here, and let's just see how it goes. Let's see. I guess I want this logo maybe. Well, first let's boom boom. Let's go to logos, create a new folder, left, and drop one in. Mike, is your video going to be up tonight, or is it going to take a while to process and upload, or what? What's the situation there, champ? So you can kind of get an idea what I'm doing here, just sort of playing around with the placement of the logo, and then I'll figure out how I'm going to blend the blue of the X and the blue of the back of the car in, right? So I'll figure that out in just a moment. It's already live. Nice. I look forward to seeing that. Did I make the video, or was my driving too subpar? Play it on here. So we'll do a little video inception. Let's see here. If you haven't subscribed, dear watcher, to Mike Houghton's YouTube channel, please do so. Make some good content. All right. Is that Jamie whistling? So tribal. I've never done a reaction video before. Am I supposed to be making faces like, what? No way. 3 wide. Hey, that's me. Ah, nice, Mike. Good stuff. Good stuff. I like it. Okay, let's get back to this. Let's figure out how we want to address this SpaceX bleed over situation. Well, we'll start with the keep it simple, stupid KISS principle, right? What we'll do is take a block. We'll take a block here, logo backer. We'll just paint her white. Select none. We'll drag that little guy over. We'll rotate her. This is a very imprecise way of doing this. I just want to kind of get a feel of what it's going to look like if I were to carve this out. So if I did a black line around that, would it look good? I don't think it would. I don't think it would. I think I'd need to do something different there. What to do, what to do. I guess I could go smaller on the SpaceX logo. And keep it in the white area and then just do some different stuff back there in the, hold on, which one did I just delete? Mistake. There we go. Let's try this. Let's see what this looks like. Bring this little booger down. Now there's an interesting idea. What if I use the curve of the X? I keep the space X logo in here in the white, but then I use the curvature of the X to start creating features in the back. Using sort of the quarter panel fender well shapes. Okay, so use the wire. Let's think about this line coming from this ducting. If I come up like so, rotate ye old thingamabob. Okay. What do we think? In the right, headed in the right direction? That might enable me to start doing the geometric stuff that I was talking about in the back. Let's look at what patterns I have available. I don't know what I've got that would look great on this car. Patterns and shapes. You know what? Let's try this. I'm interested to see what this might look like. I've had this pattern sort of sitting around for a long time and I've never used it, but I wonder if it would look good here. I'm the Rob Ross of cars. I don't have any happy trees. Okay, so I know there's still some placement things there to think about, but what do we think about the blue checkerboard back here? Or do you think it should be horizontal and just cropped? I think I kind of like the pattern though for this car. I think it's kind of cool. So let's do this. Let's take this, put it sideways. Right about there. And then we're going to select by color, wrong one. We're going to select this by color, and then we're going to invert that selection, go to our pattern, and erase everything that doesn't fit into there. And then put the pattern on top of the blue. How do we feel about this? Let's take a look. Huh, I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Hey, thanks, Robin. What do you think of the checkerboard? Do we like the checkerboard? Needs to be cleaned up, but I think it's unique. It's different. I've never done anything like it before. I think it means that I'm not going to be able to do any logos back there over the rear wheel because it's kind of busy now, but it's interesting. It's interesting. Well, we'll keep playing with it. It's also going to be a pain in the ass to match it up over the trunk and all that, but we'll keep playing with it. Because that's a funky line where the bumper meets up with the quarter panel. That's a funky line. So we'll see what we can do. Select none. Okay. Let's keep farting around with the SpaceX logo just for a second. I don't think it needs to overlap now that we've got this checkerboard. So we'll just do that. Okay, now that we've got that going on, I feel like something needs to be happening up here over the, like coming up off the fender well maybe, or anchoring coming back off the headlight. Or is that just unnecessary? Boom, boom. Something coming. What do you mean there? Like taking the checkerboard and matching the angle of the line. I did that, but it sort of lost. I did that initially. If you back up a few seconds, I thought that would be the way to go to match the grid with this diagonal line, but I didn't like the way it looked. It somehow it competed with the lines of the car, so I went back on that pretty quick. If I continue with the checkerboard motif down here, sort of flanking the bottom of the SpaceX logo, Or is that, let's throw a Dirty Torque logo on there and see if that works as filling out that negative space. Da negative space. That's right, we're singing the words. Drop this down here, rotate it to match. About like that. I think that's still going to be a little too big. Let's take a look. Yep, too big. The team needs to be the very much secondary thing here. The primary sponsor is the one that you want to know about. The Dirty Torque is really just there as a filler in this instance. That's not bad. Okay, I think that works. Now the next question I have is the top of the door. Should I do something there? Maybe the checkerboard should come forward and form a top angled piece that goes all the way to the front. I don't know. Maybe the checkerboard should be the stripes instead of these offset stripes. Maybe the checkerboard should be the whole right side of the car. I've been kind of thinking about this being an asymmetrical car, and that might be interesting. I am curious to see what it would look like if the checkerboard itself is matte. Let's do a little spec mapping, shall we? Anyone here want to see some spec map action? Yes in the chat if so. Because if so, what I'll experiment with is making the checkerboard matte with the rest of the car being reflective. So let me know if you want to see some spec maps or if you rather we continue to experiment with just overall design elements. I am going to experiment though real quickly with the checkerboard as the racing stripes. So let's go back up to our top section and let's hide our stripes as they exist right now. And why do I still have one? Ooh, I've got a mistake here somewhere. I've got a stripe in the left somewhere. Oh, blue stripe copy. I'll leave it there. I'm not sure why it's there, but I'll drop it down in the top section. I think I just have a duplicate. Let's go ahead and experiment with using the checkerboard as a stripe. So the way we're going to do that is go back to our patterns that I have a few saved of, and let's find our checkerboard again. And let's put it in top. And what I'll do is I'll carve out a couple rows and then resize and repeat those two rows. So let's take that, and then just the full length. Yeah, okay. So the way we do it is we invert. Actually, you know what we can do? We can just crop this layer to the selection. So now I've got this perfectly cropped double row. And then we will resize this little guy down to something that's reasonable for a Strizipe. Put our wire back on, because remember we want to think about the SpaceX logo, which intersects with this triangle. It's coming up to nearly the edge of that triangle. We want this one to come up to nearly the edge of the opposite triangle, right? So I want to bring this down some more to about there. That should be about right. Now we'll move it to there. We'll just duplicate it a couple times, pull it across the rest of the car. Kind of like the idea of using this element. Okay, that looks too homogeneous there, doesn't it? Let's flipper it. They moved my logos around. Flip, horizontal, floppity flop. Flip vertical then. Floppity flop, there we go. Better. Okay, now we'll erase out the overspray. And go up to wire, and let's see what this looks like with a checkerboard racing stripe. Something different, never done that before. Hey, I kinda dig it, guys. I kinda like it. I kinda like it. Okay, okay. It's neat, never done that before. Does it need black bordering on it? I kind of think it does a little more than the single pixel that's already there. Well, only one way to find out, and that's by trying it. So let's new layer, checker stripe, black, backer. Yeah, I know it's not spelled correctly. That's okay. It's going to go over 1 pixel either side. And boom, like so. That's a technical painter's term. Boom. Grab some black and paint-a-roo. Let's put this below. Kind of get an idea of what I'm doing here. All right, what do we think? Nifty or nerdy? Or is it a little bit of both? I think I need to make this whole thing one thicker. Just like so. Nice. Cool. I dig it. I think that's neat. Okay. I think that's kind of cool. Okay, so we've done a checkerboard back, and then we've got that motif continuing with the checkerboard off-center stripe. We want to have sturdy torque on the hood. It's important to put these in the right places. So I want this to be in the logos section on the hood. And we'll bring her down in size, obviously. Rotate it, obviously. And move it into place, obviously. Too big. I'm getting all dramatic with the team. All my teammates are going to be like, it's not big enough. But SpaceX is the hero of the day today, son. Okay, interesting. Think I'm digging it. I feel like the hood still needs something. Maybe sort of a bowed. All right, let's play with the lines of the hood. Would it be cool if there were the checkerboard shape, the checkerboard pattern were in a sort of bowed shape here that followed maybe this line out to the edge of the hood and then the fender. I think I'm about to make my life really complicated. But I think it's going to look good. Okay, so what we're going to experiment with is, can you see my cursor? I don't know if you can see my cursor. Yeah, the seventh gear Sedat is a fuel saving gear. It doesn't really give you any extra power. It's kind of like sixth in the LMP1 cars, in that it's just there to help you fuel saving. Okay, so you guys can't see my cursor, right? So what I'm thinking I want to do here is use the checkerboard pattern again along the fender line. No, you know what? I don't think I want to do that. The more I look at it, I think I just want the front end to be a simple white minimalistic car. So I think I'm going to continue to work down that path. Let's drop another SpaceX logo on ye old frontaroonie. SpaceX. You betcha, Sidat. How you doing, man? We'll do a new layer over here for logos as the nose. Drop SpaceX in, scale it down. Grab a guide, get centered, or get wrecked. That Pirelli World logo, I wonder if I can override that one. Okay, some logos, dear viewer, are mandatory and some are not. We're about to find out if this Pirelli logo can be killed or not. I like having the series logo on the car, but it's interfering with my primary sponsor, and we just can't have that. Okay, so that's obviously not really the center. It's an asymmetrical logo. So what we got? 1, 2, 3, 4 lines. 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, and then that's about right. Let's take a look at it. Let's see if it looks off. That swooshing X, it sort of creates an asymmetrical effect. Neat. I'll bring it down maybe 2 clicks. Cool. I think I really dig the checkerboard as a racing stripe idea. That was a neat one. Although I think I'm going to remove it from that little splitter, and I guess I need to work on making that work across the trunk, but probably not the bumper itself. Huh. All right, let's add it to the trunk. The boot, as they say sometimes. Those people that are wrong, that is. Oh crap, it's going to be a different size, isn't it? I need to match up the sizes. Poop, didn't think of that. Didn't think of that. I'm actually not really sure if the scale matches between the trunk and the quarter panel, so this might get even more complicated with these crazy shapes. Let's rotate it and start messing around and just see what happens. Bam 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 ba-dum, bam 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 ba-dum, bam 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 ba-dum, bam 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 ba-dum. All right. So let's see if we can get our ordering lined up. A light one, darker one. Okay, so what I need to do is rotate it back 90 again. Because what we've got here is a light, super dark, somewhat light, super light, super dark, somewhat light, right? So those should be pretty well lined up, but are they sized appropriately? And it looks like it needs to be rotated maybe? I really don't want to. But it's just the angles, the way that works is going to cause some complication, isn't it? Let's rotate it just a tad and see how she looks. Because, man, I'll tell you, even if I get this side matched up, the other side is going to be all wackadoodle. And it's going to be a lose-lose unless I do something in the middle of the trunk to equalize it. Or just deal with the fact that it's going to be off-center. Or not off-center, but unmatching. Where it matches up or where it meets up. If I just match up the line, a couple of the prominent line locations, does it matter to us that the squares themselves don't match perfectly? Like if I get this dark and light one to match up just right here as far as their terminators, their grid presence. Is that good enough for us? I think it probably is. And then if I go into my left quarter panel here, and I decide that I'm just going to terminate this little guy, give a little white cover here. Because I'll keep the the bumper white. Let's experiment with it. What are we thinking, folks? Is the blue checkerboard just getting me into more trouble than it's worth? I thought I was on that one. There we go. Have you guys not been looking at this the whole time? How long has that been on that version of the stream? You've only been looking at the car itself instead of the GIMP. Because apparently I'm a terrible streamer. I just looked over at my third monitor at OBS and realized that it was not displaying the correct thing-a-ma-bob. So, white cover, yeah. Bumper. Select none. Need to move the decals layer up higher, looks like. Not using the eraser, I'm covering it with a white layer that matches the bottom layer. That way I can move the blue checkerboard around without hurting, without having jagged edges and stuff. So, I don't know, I think so. Let's take off the wire, take a look. Too much checkerboard. I think checkerboard is cool. Too much checkerboard's getting a bit busy. There we go. I think that's the right balance of checkerboardedness. Am I happy with the way it terminates at the back? I don't know. I don't know that I am. I don't know that I am. What do you guys think? Is the car coming together nicely, or is it ridiculous and bad? It's okay to be honest. Um, what if we take advantage of um, that kind of awkward vertical break and put the dragon logo there? Is there a vertical dragon logo? I don't know that there is. And I don't want to recreate one. I was hoping to find a NASA worm logo that was vertical in its orientation. So definitely have a couple of NASA logos on this particular car though, huh? Okay, well let's put the SpaceX vertical one there then. And then maybe we put NASA across the bumper on the bottom. What do we think, kids? Tell me about what you think of the paint so far, because I think I like it, but don't love it yet, which for me is sometimes a very frustrating place to be. Sometimes I'll do a paint and be just crazy proud of it. Why is that discolored? Where's our hero one? Anyway, sometimes I'll finish a paint and just be like, yep, nailed it. Not feeling it for this one yet. Maybe at the end of the day it'll be unique and cool, but not the best paint I've ever done. Let's see where that orients itself. All right. I was afraid of that. It's in this weird sort of in-between place where I don't know that I'm going to be able to effectively utilize that space because without marrying up the logo from one place to another at two opposite orientations, that'd be a pain. Let's see what happens if I drop it down in size enough to where it can fit here. I don't think that's going to work. Nope, too far away. All right, so not going to use a vertical SpaceX logo there. What am I going to do with that spot? Or should I do anything with that spot and just deal with the white vertical line and be happy with it? Or should I carve that in to, let's play with that a little bit. If I go to my left quarter panel, I decide to carve off, say, bring it up to the where the light meets it, right about there. And I'll do a black one and a white one here. In fact, let's do the black one first. Put it below and black, yes. So now we've got a black, and what we're going to do now is move down our selection and paint a white cover like so, and then just go see what she looks like. Yeah, I think I like that more. I think I like it more. Because with that now I can put either the NASA meatball or the dragon logo, you know, something. All right, let's grab one of those dragon logos. Actually, what was the crew demo 2 patch logo? What did that look like? I could throw that on there in that quarter panel position. What do we think? Nah. I think the NASA logo should go there. I need a ooh, what was that one? Hello, that was cool. So let's see if this white matches. I don't want to do color matching. If not, yeah, actually it looks like it does. Cool. So let's select none. Let's bring this little mammer jammer down in size, like so. Let's rotate it, like so. Bring it up. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Let's crop it first. What are we thinking, ladies and gents? Getting close to time to get our spec map on? Because I am curious to see what the car will look like if I were to take the white and make it matte and have reflectivity in the pattern area, or vice versa. I'm kind of curious to see that both ways. You like it, Robin? Coming together for you? I mean, 4 thumbs up. It's not bad. I was hoping for 5 or whatever, but you know, I'll take some thumbs. What? What did he say? Did he say it takes some thumbs? He's a weird guy, that Ben. Who else watched that crew demo launch and was inspired by it amidst all of the tumultuous terribleness that's going on right now? I was. Let's put this in our logo's rear, actually left area. And now let's drop in some logos for the rear. Someone's following us because, you know, we always in front. What do we want to show them? Well, I don't think we want to show them hashtag sim racing, so something's got to be done about that. You know what, while we're at that, while we're talking about that, let's figure out our decals. We'll move up decals to above our graphics folder. That way that stuff's exposed. So if you don't know what I'm talking about there, whoa, 5. Yeah, the vertical line was a problem, right? Now that we've resolved that, I think it looks a lot better. Okay, so now we've got, oh, that's cool. That actually works really well with what I already had. All right, so the licensing agreements that iRacing has with manufacturers and whatnot provide certain decals. Sometimes they are optional, like the Pirelli logo that I removed earlier. Sometimes they are not, or not Pirelli, Michelin logo that I removed earlier. Sometimes they're not, like for example, the Ford license plate on the NASCAR Mustang. So I've got to figure out which ones of these are optional and which ones I can replace with my own branding. Like I don't care for hashtag sim racing. I like this IMSA logo under the air jack hole, but I don't like hashtag sim racing, and I think I'd rather use the Dirty Torque logo there. So what we're going to try to do is see if we can erase it. So I'm going to go to car decals, erase-a-rooney, and just get rid of it. And when I export it, if it's still there, that means it's not optional. Sweet, I got rid of it. So let's take our Dirty Torque logo and throw that in there so that when someone rear ends me, they know that they are in for it. We'll create a new folder here under logos. We'll just put it in rear. It's fine. Turn on our wire, find our center line, drop it over there. With how bowed the logo is, I'm not sure that this is going to look great. And I actually think it's backwards too, right? Yeah, I don't think I'll be able to use that. This might be one of those cars where I can't really put anything on the wing the way I want because of the shape of it. I believe that there's a tool that I've never learned how to use that allows you to skew a shape. I guess we could try to experiment with it real fast here. But it's like is it perspectives? So that changes the, okay, I see what that's doing. It's not what I want. Oh, that's really interesting. Also not what I want, but really interesting. It's like a distortion tool. Weird. Not what I want. But I could swear that there's like a distortion tool here where I can pull up the center of the image to try to match the curvature. But I don't know how to use it. Never have learned. But I know there's something here that sort of does that. Okay. I guess that means no logo on there. So I guess blank spoiler, but I'll go ahead and drop in a SpaceX logo down on the bumper. Like a so. Rotate it. Bring it down in size. And we'll paste it down here for all mankind. I was watching something the other day that was talking about how it was about a year and a half old information, but I found it really interesting that SpaceX could conceivably take humans to Mars by 2024. And I found that to be insane, given the idea that, I mean, we just got people commercially into low orbit, um, this week. And to think that 3.5, 4 years from now, we'd be able to get people to Mars through a privately funded organization like that, that'd be just, man, that'd be bananas. Special time to be alive if that happens. Okay, quick look. I think the um, the the checkerboard pattern provides enough complexity to this car that I just don't need to do a lot of over-the-top ornate designing, um, because that's there, you know. And in the front, the fact that I've got the checkerboard racing stripe kind of does everything we need there as well. Um, I still feel like the front maybe is still a little bit too plain. I'm not sure. Not sure how I feel about it yet. I'm wondering once I think I'm going to try to do like a white satin um, on the everything that's white right now. I think is going to go more satin, not chrome, but satin. Let's let's experiment with that. Let's start spec mapping a little bit. All right. For those of you interested in spec maps, oh, damn it, I keep changing my mind on stuff I know, but I wonder if I should first go ahead and duplicate over what I've got so that we're working with symmetry. Yeah, let's do that. All right. So what I need to do real quickly here is collapse everything down and sort of work my way from the bottom up, right? What do I need to duplicate from the bottom up? Anything from the top? No. Anything from the left? Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to basically duplicate this entire folder, and I'm going to call it right. And then I'm going to go look at the layers within it and say that I need to duplicate all of them, or at least some of them. I believe I need to duplicate all of them. So I'm just going to highlight this top level, go over here, and I'm going to do a vertical swaparoo, right? And that should have taken everything that I've done on the left and duplicated over to the right, though not in alignment. I've got to now position it. So I'm going to go up, turn on my wire, and find some common frame of reference on the left side on the wire and then match it up. So what I'm seeing here is that the black meets the green right there, right? So let's go move this to where the black meets the green at that line, like so. And so now I should have matched up everything um, from one side to the other. I'm not sure if we did or not, but that's what should have happened. Let's turn off the wire and take a look. course, there's always a little bit of cleanup. The way that iRacing makes these templates isn't necessarily always symmetrical, and it sometimes takes a little bit more work to get everything to line up exactly the way you want it to. But this looks really close. I think I need to clean up the top, obviously, right? And I need to make this area at the C pillar match up. In fact, let's go ahead and do that, I guess. Let's find. Okay, we need to go into our trunk section. What I did just now, I wanted to find this bit of overspray right here on the roof, the back of the roof. And so I just went through and hid and re-exposed all my various little buckets, my folders, until I found the one that was offending me. And I'm just going to now create, or I'll use the erase tool for this one. I'm just going to erase out the part of that layer that's overlapping where I don't want it. Like so. So now when I refresh the car, nice. Now I need to bring more of the pattern into the C pillar to sort of match up that black line, the vertical line coming up the quarter panel, to meet up with the rear window. So let's look at that and think about it for a sec. Let's duplicate this layer, bring it down here, bring it down a notch. Like so. And then we'll do some selective erasing here as well. We don't actually want it to overlap there. And we don't actually want it to overlap here. Right? We only want this new bit of pattern on the C pillar. And of course, it's going to be oversprayed, right? So what I'm doing now is just looking at where I want to cut it off. And so you can see we've got dark square, light square, dark square, and it's about halfway through the dark square where the window meets it. And so that's what I'm looking for here. If I go into the wire, I'm looking at this spot, dark square, light square, right? So let's bring this out. Okay, so you see where the triangle is here. That is here on the C pillar. And it looks like what I want to do is try to bring down a line. We'll use this tool. From here to about here. How to do the trick. And I'm just going to give that. This needs to live where? I guess there too. C pillar, black, left. I should have done this before I duplicated everything over, but it's okay. We'll just duplicate this layer or two, and at the end of the day, we'll be okay. Okay, a little bit too aggressive an angle. So what I'm going to do now is come there to about there. That looks about right. And so now I'm going to select none. I'm going to take this, duplicate it, and I'm going to do a color on the duplicate. I'm going to do a color map, color exchange from black to white. Okay, and then we'll move it over just a couple of clicks so that we've got a nice black pinstripe separating the pattern from the white primary body of the car. What do we think? Not too shabby. Not too shabby. Also need to patch up, it looks like down there the blue, the pattern itself needs to be patched up here. So why don't we take care of that too while we're here? I might kill and redo the left patch now with that in mind, because my problem there is just going to exist twice now. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll delete the whole right side and go in here and find our pattern, which is this one, I believe. Yep. I'm going to duplicate it, because I'm duplicating it because we have exactly the right size here, right? And so I'm going to crop out probably these 2 rows of squares. Yeah, that ought to work. Layer, crop selection. And so now I've got this smaller section of squares living on top of the other one that I can just bring up. And notice how it's underneath all the trunk stuff, because that's the way the layers are working out. That ought to do it there. And I should be able to erase the overspray there. Overspray up there. I think that was a cat knocking some stuff over. No big deal. Nice. I don't love the way that kind of gets jacked up right there, but I don't think there's anything I can really do about it. What do we think, guys? Love it or hate it? God, I think I want to fix that. I think I want to fix that. What's bothering me is the C-pillar, the orientation of the C-pillar squares. I think it's better, but I think now what I have to do, unfortunately, is a little bit of surgery. I think I need to steal this color, so I'm going to do a little color match there, and then I am going to end the C-pillar. In the C-pillar one, I'm going to recolor this square. And that other color. I think that'll help match things up better. Yeah, it's less obvious. The matchup is less obvious. It's still not great, but it's not as bad. You know what? Same thing with the darker one. Same thing with the darker one. That ought to help with my angst. Way better. Still not perfect when you get up close, but from 20 feet it looks good. All right. Now I think we're ready to duplicate over. So I'm just going to take my entire left side, duplicate it, call it right, and invert it by doing a little flipperoo. So now I've got this over here, and we want to marry up the black with the green like we did before. So now we should have a pretty close match up there, and on the C pillar do the same thing. I'm going to group these first off. Go ahead and save that and call this. Oh, that's left, sorry. Duplicate that whole group, call it right. And just like with the rest of the graphics, we'll flip it over and try to match it up as close as we can. Where's the C pillar at? I think I duplicated the wrong thing. Delete. Need that. Need that. Need that. Ah, don't need that. That's what it is. That's the part that shouldn't be in that little group. So duplicate again. And let's do a little flipperoo once again. Let's see if this line is lined up with that window as well. See how it's inverted, it's backwards. So what do I want to do there? I want to crop this, select none, and invert flip this again. Now I think the orientation should be right. Hopefully it's clear what I'm doing here. I know I'm not narrating it in a super detailed way. Yeah, it's all jacked up on this side. Why is that jacked up? I see what I did. I was looking over here for my, I was looking over here for the terminator, this black line, but it was farther up here. So now if I look at this, I think it's still backwards maybe? No, there we go. Winner, something, something. Come down just a tad. See if we can't match up the squares a little better. It's pretty good. Again, it's not perfect. Okay. Let's eliminate the overspray that we did just like on the other side. Let's see. Thought I saw something down further on the car, but I guess not. We haven't finished up this side of the trunk yet, so let's handle that. Duplicate that and move the lower one. Like so. I hope that made sense to you, my loving viewers, as to what I just did to patch the side there. Why do I have this jagged action? Where's that coming from? So that tells me that my right side is still just a tad off. Okay, so we're getting close. I'm not going to bother with trying too hard to match up the trunk to the quarter panels, but we're pretty close on it. I think the frustrating part that I just can't get perfectly is this area. Because I just did the trunk. I'm looking at this sort of awkward shape up on the C-pillar where it matches up to, I guess it's this one here. Here it is. Okay. So let's remove this bit of overspray. That might fix that up. Yes. Yes. Nice. Okay. All right. Pretty happy with that. Now let's go fix this little section. Okay, so the next thing you do is duplicate over any logos you have and try to match their orientation up. So all of my logos should be in this logos folder, right? And then within that, I should have rear, nose, left, basically sections of the car. So SpaceX does not need to be reversed because it's a front or back thing, right? Same thing for nose. But left, much like with the graphics, needs to be reversed. Now, you don't use the exact same tool though, because they're typically words. So you can't invert a word, or E isn't an E anymore, and so on, right? So what I'm going to do is duplicate this whole group, call it right, just like we have with everything else. But instead of using the flip tool to invert them, I'm instead going to rotate the copies, right? So rotation. So let's move this up to where it's going to go, and then rotate it into place, and then sort of eyeball to make sure that it's matching the other side's orientation. This is an area where you can spend a lot of time and be really exacting. You can eyeball it a bit. I typically sort of eyeball it a bit, but you can be as anal as you want to on this. But that's close. Yeah, I think I need to go a little lower on the right side, so I'm going to go boom, maybe 4 clicks. It's really hard to get it exact. I gave up trying to get it exact a long time ago. The cars themselves aren't necessarily exactly symmetrical, right? This car, for example, has a gas door on one side and not a gas door on the other, and that changes the body lines around that gas door subtly to where you just don't have the same grid lines on the wire to match up to from one side to the other. So you can't just flip, and you can't exactly match them up without just painstaking measuring and working. You can do it if you have the patience. You can do it, but I rarely have the patience. So it's going to approximate. I'll do the same thing with the SpaceX one. I'm going to approximate, and then I'm going to drag them both up on the inside of the car. And again, because the cars aren't perfectly symmetrical, you keep in mind, no one's ever going to see the car from both sides at one time, right? So you're approximating the orientation. In this one's case, SpaceX isn't symmetrical either, right? I've got the top of this swooshing X right next to the black. Well, on the other side, the X is going to be closer to the number, right? So I need to move the whole SpaceX thing to my right or aft on the car a little bit. So I'm going to come up here and get SpaceX roughly oriented. Now, I do want to try to get it height-wise exactly matched, right? So see how we've got a bunch of scrunched together grid lines and then some big ones, and the S is right on top of this grid line, right? So that's what I'm going to look for on this side to try to anchor my X to. Guys, forgive the cat. He goes through phases. He's a little jackass, and he is going through one of those phases right now. So what I'm going to do is probably that. I'm going to have the swoosh go over a little bit. And then with the Dirty Torque logo, bring it down to about the same vertical orientation that it was before. So there's one big line, and then it's near the top of the next one, right? So one big line, and then up a few spots, and we're going to hide the grid of the wire and just sort of see how it looks. So if we flip from one side of the car to the next, are we pretty symmetrical? Yeah. It's not shabby. Dirty Torque is right in that sort of concave section. And SpaceX is sort of maybe a little higher on this side That's kind of on purpose because of the way the X interacts with the number block. Okay. All right. Now, I want to experiment with making a matte finish for all the white sections. So to do that, we are going to do some spec mapping. So are we ready to spec map in the chat? The way I like to do this is to take my whole graphics section, right, and basically merge it into one so that I've got one big white block that I can choose. Okay, so what I'm going to do is essentially duplicate this group, the graphics group that has all the squares and the white and the swooshes and any of the graphical elements, and then I'm going to merge the layer group. So now, if I were to turn off my main graphics group, notice I've still got a fully painted car, or nothing. See what's happening there? So I've now got a full graphics group of all that stuff, and then I've got a paintable area of everything above it, right? I'm not doing a great job of explaining that. But what I want to do now, I think, is, let me think about this. What I want to do now is carve out all the white. Let's make the whole car matte real fast, and then we'll carve out of the matte a certain area. So, quick crash course on spec maps. We're going to need to create a new file called a spec map file. And we're going to be interacting up here with two sort of groups. The red channel, which colors reflectivity, metallicness, how metallic is the surface, right? Versus the green channel, which is matteness, roughness. So think about these things in layers. Imagine you have the surface of a car and it's unpainted. Then you put a layer of sandpaper on top of it. So now you've got a rough layer. And then you spray paint it with chrome. So now you've got a shiny, rough layer. You can layer things on top of one another, where the car itself is the stuff that I just painted, right? The stuff we just spent the last couple hours building. That's the car itself. The reflectivity and the roughness both happen up here in the spec map. So the first thing I need to do is to turn off my car's paint and create a spec map. So I'm going to turn on the spec area, and you notice right now that's totally black because my base paint under the red, under the reflective area, is black. But what is black? Black isn't a color when we're talking about spec maps. Black is a value, right? This is our red channel, and I have a red value of 0. So red, green, blue, right? 0, 0, 0 equals black. It is the absence of value, right? As opposed to 255, notice the scale is 0 to 255, right? At 255 and 0, 0, with a red value of 255, that means super red, right? So as a quick experiment, if I paint my spec reflectivity layer with maximum red, meaning maximum reflectivity, it's not really red, it's a measurement of reflectivity. If I paint that layer and then export it, but not to a regular TGA file, to a spec. So car spec, then my number, TGA file, right? I drop that out there, and then I refresh my sim. That should give me a chrome car. Why is it a chrome car? Because underneath the spec map, I have a white car. The car is generally white, right? And because it's generally white, that means that it's the absence of color at its most reflective. The color is white, the reflectivity is maximum. So the absence of color, think about a surface that you might have in your house. The absence of color at its most reflective is what? It's a mirror, right? It's a mirror. And so we've created a mirror. If I were to go change the color of the car to, say, yellow, it would become a gold mirror, right? Which would be totally blinging, but not my style. So what I want to do is probably reduce this back down to 0, because what I don't want to do is add reflectivity, right? So I'm going to keep my reflectivity, meaning the red layer, at the default, right? 0 equals default. This is exactly what iRacing's always looked like. What I'm going to do is rough it up a little bit. I'm going to go into my green channel, and I'm going to create a less smooth surface. And we're going to experiment with this. So I'm going to leave my red at 0, and I'm going to make this, say, I don't know, 150, sort of a middling number, which gives me a green, meaning a middle-ish layer of roughness. Let's just go see what it looks like. So notice how, well, did that? So notice how the car now doesn't have reflective sheen to it at all. The whole thing has gotten way rougher. I think I went too far, so let's make that 60. It's a darker green, which means closer value to 0, which means less rough, right? So now you can see how we've got a bit more of a satiny sort of look. It's not super reflective, but it's not crazy matte either. And it's affecting the whole car. I can choose to carve out pieces if I want to. Although I don't know if this is making enough of a difference for me. What if we look at the silver satin? I feel like I've overdone the silver satin thing. Let's mess with that. Let's turn off our green layer, and let's just see what this looks like if I go this route. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my red at, say, 255 and this at 90. Right, that's going to give me an orangish color, sort of in between. And let's just look. I don't know. God, it looks good. But I feel like I'm always doing these matte silvers. And it's not that I'm bored of them. I just, want a bit of variety. God, that looks pretty sharp. I don't feel like getting super complex with these. BMWs have such fabulous lines that I don't want to get too over the top on the design of the car. I want things to accentuate the built-in BMW lines. And I kind of dig that. I kind of dig it. I might not even carve out stuff because I like the way the blue pattern looks now with that sort of matte sheen to it. What do you think, guys? Stick with a white base or go with a silver car? I think I'm going to tweak it and put a couple more logos on here and there just to fill in, like the spot above the front wheels. Maybe put my name on it on the driver's door, that kind of stuff. There's a few more touches to be done. I want to do something on the spoiler. But what do we think about the overall aesthetic of the car? Following that bad boy. It's all silver interaction. Normally when I'm doing these things, I'm really carving out little pieces, making intricate designs within the spec map to accentuate or de-emphasize certain parts of the car. But again, I just love BMW lines. I drive a BMW myself. I really love the way that they sculpt their cars, especially their smaller sedans. God, I think that looks pretty sharp. Okay, While you react to that in the chat, I'm going to go back to designs here and drop a couple more logos in. So to do that, I'm going to export as, go back to my regular file, not the spec map. And let's think, what do we want to add to this car to give it just that little bit more character, a little bit more pop? I've already got Michelin logos on the front and on the back. I've got a Pilot Series logo back there. I've got SpaceX up here. I feel like something over the wheel wells is what needs to happen, but not Michelin because I already got that. PSRC, Hamilton, caps, maybe? Oculus logos. What do you think, folks? Any recommendations? Thrustmaster is usually pretty good for this sort of thing. Let's see what Thrustmaster looks like. I think it might be too long. It might. Let's see if it auto curves. Again, it's one thing that I haven't figured out yet is how to distort something that's straight and create a curve in it. I've not yet learned that. Let's over wheels. Let's scale this little guy down. Would it work if I do this? The alignment's still a little bit off, but let's take a gander. No, don't like it. Delete. It's all about experimentation. Any recommendations? Digging any of that either. Let's see. Does anything need to go over those wheel humps? Okay, I think I'm going to go without it for now then. Maybe I'll do a little spoiler messing around here. But I think that curvature is what's going to kill me. So, guys, I think we might be done. Let me show you real quickly how to upload to Trading Paints your spec map and your file, right? This is the last thing. Every now and then I get questions about this. But once you feel like you're done with your car, which I'm 80% sure I'm done with this car, but I'm happy enough with it to where I'm going to race it, and I might do some iterations to it later. But I don't hate it. I don't love it yet, but I don't hate it. God, that silver's so cool though, man. I love making silver cars. It's not the best one. My best paint, I think, right now is my Audi 90 GTO. That I did this tread pattern and reflectivity on a matte background, and the Commodore 64 logos. God, that's such a yes, it's killer. And then I did a cool one for Mike too with a reflective NASCAR paint that's also pretty slick. So, but I think this is what we're going to run with for now, and then I might make some changes to it. I don't know, but let's show you real quickly how to get this into trading paints so that you can share it with the world. In the process of doing our paints here, within our documents folder, under iRacing, paints, and then the car that you were painting, you'll have 3 files. 2 of them you created, 1 of them iRacing created. This one's your design, car, and then your number. This one is your spec map, meaning the layer of reflectivity or roughness, right? This one is the actual file that iRacing creates in the simulator based on the spec map that is rendering actually in sim. Hey Robin, thanks for hanging out, man. Thanks for the feedback throughout. Hope you enjoyed. So let's go upload to iRacing the relevant file. Excuse me, not to iRacing, to Trading Paints the relevant files. So here I am logging into Trading Paints. We should see. Damn it, I did it again. I think I click over every now and then. I'm not sure how long that's been going on, but I click over every now and then on the other monitor by mistake. Okay, so I'm going to back up a little bit. 3 files: your paint, the spec map you created, the file that iRacing creates and actually renders within the game. Okay, so when you log into your Trading Paints account and you go to your paints and you go to BMW M4 GT4 and you go to choose a paint to run and you upload your TGA file from, you guessed it, documents, iRacing, paint, BMW M4, the car, right? So you're going to upload that, and then we need to go through and upload another file to the spec map. And that is looking for the MIP file, not the TGA file. Okay, so hit OK, and now I've got both of them. Right on. So now if I were to go in and jump into a practice or a race for these cars, go ahead and save my work, turn it off. Interesting. When I sign in basically now and I turn on Trading Paints should reach out and replace whatever I've got in my file with the right stuff. So with that said, I'm going to go drive this bad boy now. So hang on you know what, I'll do that on camera for just a little bit. Why not? It means swapping over to the Rift real fast, but no big deal. Oh, wrong button. Sim loading, sim loading. Still waiting on the sim to load here. It's taking her a minute. Do 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 do. Ah. goodness, what's taking so long? Oh, there we go. All right. Let's get a little racing on, man. Or at least a little practice on. Got to get my Zapatos, my racing boots, my racing shoes. I don't know if OBS is going to pick up the app here. If not, we'll call it a day with that. But been fun. I enjoy making little paints. Glad you guys enjoyed watching. Hopefully you enjoyed watching. It's always interesting doing that sort of thing live. It's hard to know which parts of the creative process are actually interesting versus super boring. All right. There it is. Coming up now. So I need to switch over my headsets here. 1 second. Should have. Yeah, looks like we got audio. All right.
The leader's just done a 56.7.
So I'm going to refresh my paint while in the sim. So with trading paints open now, refreshing my paint should have, oh, we're at a different track. It's Lime Rock now. It should load mine, and then anyone else who's got a custom paint created, I get those as well. So
Pit lane speed limit is 56 kilometers per hour.
So loud. Why is it so loud?
Your exit's clear. Don't cross the white line.
My exit is clear. So now we are driving our SpaceX Audi.
The leader has just done a 56.3.
Oops. We're not driving it well. Okay. Let's go get back on track. Cold tires. I have not gotten used to the new tire model yet. Haven't had a lot of opportunities to drive it. But let's go out and do a few laps.
Traffic behind.
Goodness. Man, the cold tires get you. See that guy too. At the Silverstone practice earlier today, I was actually pretty quick. So let me get settled in here and see if I can be quick here too.
The leader has just done a 56.2.
I don't know the new Lime Rock all that well. I mean, it's still basically the same track, but I just haven't turned any laps. I haven't done any racing at it yet. The surface is a lot smoother, I'll tell you that right now. Got to get the compromise corner better.
Sector 1 is 0.7 off the pace.
That's really slow. Oh, this is fine. This is fine. We're just figuring it out, trying to find those braking markers. Also trying to figure out the car. Only done that little bit of practice at Silverstone. Haven't really driven the car much.
Okay, Ben, there's a car exiting the pits. Heads up.
Let's get compromised corner better this time. The left-hander. Not second, though. Not second. Stay over there. Let's brake earlier this time.
The guy in front has just done a 58.8.
Starting to find our lines a little bit. Wouldn't say it. Nope. No, we're not. Oh, goodness. No, we are not. Well, we look good while we crash. We'll go out one more time, then we'll watch a little bit of replay to enjoy the paint.
Pit exit's clear. Stay behind the white line.
Must learn to drive car track combination. Not good. Me. Inexperienced car and track. Don't know either of them. Okay, third's too low, I think. I don't know. Oh man, that curb really grabs the car. They've really changed the curbs up, and that chicane is a crazy thing. Changes the whole nature of the track. Must get better at the left-hander. Okay, kind of like that. Short shifting to third. That's better, I think. It's a tricky corner. Tricky corner. Terrible.
Sector 1 is 0.7
Really, really
off
bad
the
there.
pace.
Now, like a proper race car driver, I'm going to blame the setup or the weather or something, but obviously it's me.
Sector 2 is a second off the pace.
What a cool sounding car.
You're currently 2.0 seconds off the pace. Sector 1 is 0.4 off the pace.
Starting to find a little bit more pace now.
You need to find a 10th in Sector 3. The guy behind has just done a 57.3. Sector 1 is 0.5 off the pace.
Nah, man, that was pretty cool.
The car in front has just posted a 57.2.
And what am I doing? 57.3. Oh wow, that's a whole second.
Your lap time was a 57.6. Sector 1 is 0.4 off the pace. Sector 2 is 0.5 off the pace. The guy ahead's lap time is a 57.2.
My crew chief, ever since the update today, crew chief is coming into my headset. Super duper loud. Got to figure that out.
That puts you 1.0 seconds off the leader's pace. Sector 3 is a 10th off the pace.
Let's see if we can catch this guy and then pull over and check out the paint on track.
Sector 1 is 0.9 off the pace.
Sorry, dude. Alright, buddy. Good practice. Good
5 seconds. Still 5 seconds. Oh, he's fast. Okay. And I am not at the moment. Goodness, I'm just sliding through
10th
the
off the
corner.
pace in Sector 3.
I don't know if that's a new tire model thing or maybe some other people have already. Drift time? No, maybe not. What are my setup choices here?
You'll need to slow down if you don't want a penalty.
Oh, man, the brakes do not work in the grass. Let's look at the car. Going around Zeal racetracky.
So how'd you guys like the Beamer? I've been on it for about 5 minutes now and I'm loving it.
Not bad. I think it needs some setup tweaks from baseline though.
Oh, 100%. It's better for the first lap, but after that it just tapers off.
What do you think? Not terrible? Not amazing, but not terrible?
Feels like a whole different car now.
The square pattern thing is certainly a departure. Oh, I've got a little glitch there, I think. Need to fix that. Need to fix that. Kind of cool, though. Show me your turbos. Show me your turbos. Uh, I'll take it out again, just real fast.
There's traffic approaching. Watch your mirrors.
Warm up the tires, see if I can play with this guy. Whoa. Well, I made a mistake and he made a mistake too.
Baseline feels alright to me. My alt setup wasn't even valid.
Sector 1 is 0.7 off the pace.
Excellent.
See if I can catch these guys while they're fighting. I think the Porsche is faster than me, but it'll be fun to be involved in a 3-car 2-make battle.
Sector 2 is 0.5 off the pace. You're now 1.4 seconds off the pace. Sector 1 is 0.4 off the pace.
I'm catching Phil.
Sector 2 is 0.3 off the pace.
I wonder if the gearing is reconfigurable in this thing. I haven't looked at the setup configurations at all yet.
That puts you 0.8 off the pace. That lap was a 57.0. You're 0.2 off the pace in Sector 1.
On your left. Hold your line. Clear left.
You're now 1.2 seconds off the leader's pace. You need to find a 10th in Sector 3. That lap was a 57.4.
That was fun.
Sector 2 is 0.3, off the pace.
If you're
The lead is
just joining,
56.0.
the painting is finished for now. Painted a SpaceX BMW, and now I'm driving it, figuring things out.
Sector 1 is 0.7, off the pace.
Oops. Well, that's an unforgiving chicane. Ruh-roh.
Sector 2 is 1.6 seconds, off the pace. Sector 2 is 0.6, off the pace.
Phil has figured it out, though.
Left side. Hold your line. Clear left.
You're a second off the pace in Sector 1. Sector 2 is a second off the pace. You're currently 2.3 seconds off the pace. Sector 3 is 0.3, off the pace. Sector 1 is 0.7, off the pace. Sector 2 is 0.8, off the pace. Sector 3 is 0.5, off the pace.
Car left. Clear left.
Sector 3 is 0.4 off the pace. Sector 2 is 0.8 off the pace. Look out for the pit speed.
All right, let's admire it for a second. It's worth knowing tires and fuel happen at the same time. Okay, let's go to TV1 and go to that last couple laps. Battling with homeboy here. See the car from his perspective. Get a sense for how much we like the pattern, I think. It's looking back at me there.
The guy behind has just done a 57.0.
Well, there I am. Oh, wow, the way the light reflects out of the headlights is great.
Sorry about that. Return to the track back there.
All right, well, I think that does it. Thanks for watching. Hope everyone enjoyed. Hope you learned a little bit more about painting. I do recommend buying the BMW. It's a good time.